Of course, Jim, WWE had a wrestler named the Zombie in ECW. Had a very notable debut against the Sandman. One of my favorite moments ever on the mic. And WWE is still there, and they were there. What night is day? What day is today? I can't even speak.
What night is day?
What night is day? What day is today? This is
Today is Tuesday morning.
Raw was last night. Wow, it was just last night.
It was just last night in Madison Square Garden, the Mecca of professional wrestling is what they're now calling it. But they couldn't say professional wrestling on their television show without getting a stern look from the chairman a few years ago. And now they can call Madison Square Garden its rightful name, the Mecca of professional wrestling. And they were sold out. They said 20,142. It was a very small stage for MSG over the recent years. So I would say we're close, if not there. And they were 100 miles down the road in Philadelphia on Friday night where they had, 16, 17,000, whatever the fuck it was. So they've sold just for 2 regular television programs at 100 miles, they've sold almost 40,000 tickets. And the crowd shots were amazing Jey Uso opened the show. They couldn't resist because they wanted to get arty with those crowd shots, and I'm not going to argue with them. But just the sea of people and the activity and the signs and the fact that they're into it. This, again, I know I say it every week, but how could you look at that? If you've been on Gilligan's Island for the past 5 years and you come back and you look at that, you say, my God, when did pro wrestling become the most popular thing in the world? It looks incredible, doesn't it?
It looks
just
great.
To see all that.
I think Jey Uso in the hallway, just with the fans around him, looks impressive, even though that's obviously not a big crowd. But everything looks really good. A lot of this is stuff they never would have done before. And yeah, it looks incredible. The only thing I don't like is I hate that MSG now, you don't have the classic MSG look because there are seats there. They closed off that area. But beyond that, it looked great.
Well, and the thing is, even with Uso in the hallway, or the breezeway, as they say in the industry, the people that you can't pay them to do that, and you can't, they're not good actors, so it comes off as fake if you're trying to get them to do that on purpose. They're liking him, and they're liking this shit, and they're into it. And they're, yeet, yeet, and all that shit. And that's what makes the atmosphere. And again, this is just incredible for very little fuck all of almost anything content-wise on a lot of these programs that are hours long, but they want to see the stars. And there was a couple of segments that I thought, it deserved some discussion. And the first one was the Cody entrance again, or the Cody promo, where he had the entrance was the great visuals and the Cody chants, and his eye still looks rotten, but somewhat better than a few days ago. And he cut the promo. He got Travis Scott booed. He got The Rock booed. He got Cena booed. Cena's not here tonight. Boo. He'll be, by the way, John Cena will be in Brussels next week, Belgium. He can't make New York City, but oh yeah, I'll drop by Belgium. What the? But I guess it's all part of the Cena retirement tour, right? But anyway,
if he
again,
retires.
If he retired, to see you gotta suspectify everything. It's like with the thing with DDP, where you gotta see the ill intent in somebody, or you don't trust anybody. See, I'm the trusting one. I'm the calm one. I'm the fair one.
Oh yeah,
the one that tries to see the good in everybody. And you're the one who just sees the bad in everybody. And then we meet in the middle and we balance each other out.
I can think of at least 24 people that I've heard you wish would burst into flames.
But with love. So, but anyway, this is what with Cody. This is what I was talking about earlier, the dusty cadence. And he cut another hell of a promo. And that's the thing. When your champion is over as Cody is and he can talk like Cody does, that's all he needs to come out and do most of the time. They see him and they hear him and this thing that's been done to him, and he tells them what he's going to do to get even about it. But he cut a hell of a promo, and it's the dusty cadence is there with the ebbs and the flows and the peaks and the valleys. And at one point, they got, because it's the Garden, and there are some malcontents there, they got the dueling chants of, let's go Cena, Cena sucks. But they're listening to all this stuff and they're reacting to everything. And finally, Cody wrapped up with, and he said, John, sit down, you goddamn moron, is basically what people want to tell him. 17 is the number of title wins. 17 is one man's delusion and one man's fantasy. But I get the privilege of beating my hero at his last chance. But John, remember, I'm the captain now. I'm the captain now, baby. But a great promo, and you want to see this thing. That's the definition of talking them into the building. And Cody does it at this point, like you said earlier. He's this, all of this conflict around him has really fired him up to cut him and put even more workshopping into his promos. You think?
And he's gotten to do it now on 2 different shows, so now it's time for something different. Cena on Raw next week. What would you do with him? How physical would he or should he get? And how long a promo should he do if he does a promo?
I don't know that they need a lot of physicality coming off of what they just did and this far away from WrestleMania, but I'm pretty sure he's going to think about it now. Would you rather see John Cena wrestle, or would you rather hear him talk? I mean, he is going to have, and that's what Cody referred to, he's going to have an incredibly, well-crafted and emotional and fucking promo of some description. They're going to explain his side of things. And that's what Cena's noted for, is his ability to talk. So it'll be interesting how he can. When he was in OVW, he was a heel. That was in 2001, and that's the last time he cut heel promos for the public, at least. So he could do it then like crazy, but now he's a completely different person. And it'll be interesting to see if his heel promos can hang with Cody's babyface promos. And but I don't know they need to be physical right now, because it's kind of in betwixt and between. You know what do you see do you smell what I'm cooking, Brian?
I smell what you're cooking. I hate to use that phrase, but yes, I agree with what you said.
Well, then do you smell the smell of my farts? I don't know what else to say there. I don't want to just invent catchphrases, then nobody will understand what I'm talking about.
It's just going to be weird seeing Cena come out there. Like, we've seen him come out one way for 15 years or so. Does he come out the same way as a heel? Now that he's a heel, does everything change and he comes out slowly and angrily? I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see this version of John Cena at this age, how he does this.
Do you think The Rock is going to Brussels?
If any of the other corporate heads will be at ringside, maybe.
Yeah, he wouldn't just go for the Sprouts?
Well, what else did you watch on Raw?
Well, then there was the segment where Michael Cole had the women's champion and challenger get in the ring together, Io Sky and Bianca Belair. And Io was first. If she is some type of cog in the deal to get Bianca and Rhea against each other, or somehow, as we said earlier, the thing between Bianca and Jade and Naomi, but a short-term champ. Rhea wins the thing back at WrestleMania. I don't know what's going on here, but she's shorter than the kids by the entranceway when she's making her entrance. She's barely taller than the guardrail. She didn't get that much reaction. There was a small, short EO chant, and then when she smiles, she's got a very likable smile. She holds the belt up. There was half-hearted, "You deserve it," for a minute. She can't cut a promo. It's a strong accent. English is a second language. She's very likable. I don't understand why she's in the middle of Bianca and Rhea and Jade, and for that matter, Naomi is a cog in the wheel also. But one of these things does not fit or whatever. How to try to talk me out of this, or can you?
Well, I don't mind Io, and you've never really been a fan. However, there have been times where she in the ring has won you over, and I think one of those times was Io versus Bianca. I don't even remember what event it was. It must have been a year ago.
Well, no, she was the one they decided they were going to like in Puerto Rico, wasn't it?
No, that was that her? Because Zelina Vega had the big thing in Puerto Rico where she was the babyface, didn't she?
Yeah, but that wasn't the one where they just
That wasn't
no.
that
It was
match?
Io and Bianca that they tore the house down.
They tore the
I'm
house
pretty
down.
sure.
And it
I'm
seemed
pretty
like
sure.
And it seemed like she was indicating towards the end, not that this makes this any better for you based on what you want. It seemed like she was indicating three-way match at WrestleMania, didn't it?
Well, yeah. And unfortunately, but that's why I'm saying hopefully there's a cog in the wheel here somewhere where Naomi either costs Bianca, Rhea wins the title, or Jade, does something, or somebody does something. But when Bianca came out, she got a little bit of reaction. And Michael Cole asked the question, well, if you weren't out here last week, would Rhea Ripley still be the champion? And she's like, I was just out here to see who my opponent was going to be, and I'm trying to focus on WrestleMania. Well, Rhea's music plays, and there the people come up. And it's a whole different level of now we're interested in this thing. You can tell. And she started arguing with Bianca. Are you scared you can't beat me? You had no reason to be out here. You need to handle your business with Naomi and Jade. And then Bianca got mad and said, well, you can't beat Io, and you're trying to blame me. And well, I did like this, and I knew it was coming. And it would have been disappointing if it didn't come. But I've laid out a couple of things like this in the past on a smaller level. But when Rhea and Bianca got up face to face, nose to nose with each other, and they're arguing over Io walks up and like she's going to say something to him, and Rhea just reaches out and pie faces her and pushes her away. And Rhea tells Bianca, you're hiding behind Io like you hid behind Jade and Naomi. And Io walks back up again, and Bianca pie faces her and starts yelling back at Red. Finally, Io gets mad and jumps in the middle of them and slaps both of them in a very stagey way, and then jumps up and down and has they're still acting like all of the Japanese girls are 9 years old when they have a temper tantrum. But at least it was emotional. And she jumped up and down and yelled and walked out. So now we got another three-way. But why are they setting up three ways with the women when they're setting up three ways with the men, or vice versa? Is it anything you can do? I can do better on everything. But what do you think? Whose money is your money on hearing this?
Well, I'm not a gambler, but I think it'll be a fun match. I'm sure I'll enjoy it. Who do I think will win? Rhea needs to finally get a win over Io. Io just won the belt, unless you think she's transitional. So then you're talking about Bianca or Rhea. Bianca, for someone who's been emotional and acting out at the Elimination Chamber, acting out like she's a child, but, highly emotional in just about everything, here, and of course on SmackDown, I still don't know if it's crazy to think she may become a heel. I don't know. And then if that was the case and there was a big turn, I would think she would win the belt. But again, Rhea needs to get a win back. You would think, traditional booking thinking. What do you think?
I just think Rhea needs to get the belt back some kind of way, unless the belt is going to be integral in Bianca and still again, I think it's Bianca and Jade that we want to see. Naomi was kind of put in when Jade apparently really got hurt. So I think that Bianca needs to step off of Naomi and we'll get to Jade. And if they want the title involved in that, I can see what's going on. Rhea's still over, but otherwise, I think she needs to win it back. But that's just me.
Well, unlike SmackDown, Jim, there was a big match here on Raw that I know you probably wanted to see, and it was the main event.
Well, no, there wasn't anything else after the girls that I wanted to make sure that we knew what was going on with them. And then I pretty much turned in for the cage match. You're talking about the cage match, Brian, now. And that's what I'm saying. Three ways. I never thought in my younger days I'd be so upset about all these three ways. But it's like a mirror image. And this one, the story is there again. And I think I said that about one recently in the WWE that they had the story is there. And, you kind of get intrigued with what's going to happen, but I digress. We're getting to the finish before we've started it. The best match that I've seen on television, I don't know how long, and this was better than anything on that 13 match, 5.5 hour extravaganzo pay-per-view that we just saw from AEW, and better than anything at the Elimination Chamber. I could go on, but two guys that know what they're doing with a fucking issue, trying to be serious about their business in a sold out Madison Square Garden. Now you're talking. I know that everybody can't do this all the time. Even if they could perform it, everybody shouldn't do a match like this all the time, or this would become commonplace and meaningless. But when you got, again, two guys that are over, CM Punk and Seth Franklin Rollins, and a stipulation like a cage, they don't need furniture. And they don't need goddamn flamethrowers. And you don't need special effects and chambers and clocks and lights and horns. Two guys are working a fucking fight. It was refreshing to see a match on a wrestling show that looked like they were trying to have a fight, wasn't it, Brian? After all this time where we just get used to they're just going to break out into running the ropes and, flippy doing, that they just had a fight.
They had a fight, yes. I don't know, that was a weird question to throw at me.
Well, I mean, isn't it refreshing? Can you think when is the last time it looked like they were watching some of that Ric Flair, Ronnie Garvin shit that they used to do on TBS, where they just were trying to fucking maul each other's face and straight punch to the fucking nose or whatever. But it was more aggression.
But before you review it, do you think the finish took away anything from the match?
No, actually, because I was wondering how they were going to get out of this, because that's why I couldn't believe they were giving it to us. And I say giving it, they're getting paid for everything. They get paid when they take a breath of fucking air in the morning.
But traditionally, this would be a pay-per-view match.
This would be a pay-per-view match. But now it's a stepping stone to another pay-per-view match that is even more WrestleMania worthy in their eyes, because you throw Roman in and the dynamic with Punk and Seth and Roman both, and with Punk and Heyman and all these different interpersonal relationships. But it starts with the cage match. Let me tell you what I liked about it. And New York is a Punk town. Seth made his entrance. He gets a response, but then they already started chanting CM Punk before the music. And then, like Mussolini in MSG. And the fans sang the song. And they got with its clobbering time, and Punk's got the game face on, and they got the crowd shots again. The fuck? This is a Bruno fucking level crowd in Madison Square Garden, and it's the main event. And I thought they were supposed to be uncensored on Netflix. They bleeped it when Punk called him a motherfucker.
When the screen went black, did the screen go black for you a few times during the match?
Yes, they were bleeping fingers also.
That's what I thought. Yeah, okay. That's why I wanted to ask you.
Well, they weren't bleeping. They were blacking out censoring the finger.
Yeah.
Censoring, and they were audio muting the motherfucker. But maybe you can say fuck, but you can't fuck your own mother on Netflix. Is that in the bylaws?
It makes you wonder if this is what they're doing on Raw and Netflix. Did they sit down WWE and say, listen, about that Cody Rhodes go fuck yourself moment, let's not have that happen again.
Well, but again, it's like when I was with Sinclair for Ring of Honor, where you could say the word ass, but you couldn't stick something in someone's ass. See, there's delineations of this. So I'm wondering if you were a motherfucker, it wouldn't be that you're fucking your own mother. You could be fucking someone else's mother. You know the old saying, motherfucker I may be, but the mother I fuck belongs to thee. That was a Bobby Eaton. So maybe it's just the combination of fucking and the fact that the woman who's doing the fucking is the mother of someone. You think?
I have no earthly idea how you ended up with that, but there is definitely some level of censorship going on, and middle fingers are a part of it.
Yes, and Punk is 4-0 in Madison Square Garden. That's the way you use statistics to your advantage in wrestling. And they had built this thing all night, the packages and whatever, and the warm up, and finally here he comes. Punk comes in the door, and the fight starts. And it was a slobber knocker, a stem winder, a scrap even. And the people just started chanting CM Punk. So they are taking Punk's side in this, and Seth is a heel, even though he's not really a heel, but he's not the sympathetic favorite. And they were working a fight where the stiff slaps and, punches that stood a better chance of being a potato than normal. And it was like they sat down and agreed to apologize beforehand and said, we gotta make this look a little bit more legitimate than usual. And they got exhausted having the fight and got rubber legged, did a yay boo with aggression. And they had the body language going with it. And then Seth, for the first break spot, Seth gave him a buckle bomb into the cage, and it was a momentum changer. Instead of just, okay, it's your turn now to do some moves, and you could tell that they were going with what the people wanted, which was to see Seth be the more heelish figure, because Seth's buckle bomb then allows him to get heat on Punk. And allowing him to get the heat on Punk is because he's still not trying to fucking take a sledgehammer and bash the guy's brains in and kill him, but he's man to man. He's raking him against the cage, grinding his face. That kind of heat where he's not just a despicable coward, but he's mad at this fucking guy and he's on him. And then he invites Punk to walk out the door. Because they got the leave the cage rule up there, and the door is open. And that insults Punk, and he fires up and foils another buckle bomb attempt and hits a go to sleep and collapses. And then Punk gets up and starts getting on fucking Seth and opens the door and invites him to leave. And that's where the fingers got censored, Brian, or at least one of the spots. And then Punk worked on Seth and gave him the elbow off the top, and then a double finger that they missed because it was quick, and another elbow. And then the fans chanted one more time, and he got a third elbow drop off the top. And I mean, again, you've got guys in this business in various places that are setting fucking furniture stacks up on top of one another and taking bumps off balconies through this shit with the chairs involved in the middle and risking their lives, and people are just standing there staring at it. Or you got a guy and another guy that are working and have built a situation where the people are chanting over an elbow drop off top rope. This shouldn't be that hard to figure out. And he gives them the one more time and cover and 1, 2 kick. Ah, God damn it. And then Punk said, well, I'll take care of this. And he goes up to the top of the cage because he's going to come off the top of the, which is a big ass fucking cage, by the way. But Seth sees that and he climbs up to the top. And they sit on the top and they have a fight. And Seth almost falls off, but he gets the ropes underneath him and grabs Punk's head and superplexes Punk off top rope. And boom, and cover 1, 2, and kick. Ah, and that's when the people chant, this is awesome. And then they start fighting on their knees, but they get to the feet and they're trading punches. Boom, boom. And again, sorry you moved, you know. And then Punk hit another go to sleep. Cover 1, 2, kick, big pop on the kick out. And then Punk went for another one, but Seth rolled into the STF. And he milked that, but Punk turned it into the Anaconda Vice. And Seth had to gouge the eyes to break it. But then he hit the curb stomp. Oh my God. And cover 1, 2, kick out, big pop, and a CM Punk chant. And the best part about this is, besides the fact they're building this thing and going back and forth, the selling and the registering and the reaction time and the timing of in between the facials, the body language, the paint on the face. They got something going here. And then Punk foiled another stomp attempt and hit the go to sleep again. 1, 2, kick out. Huge pop, and Punk is gobsmacked now. What the fuck? And then the fans start singing Seth's whoa, whoa, or whatever the fuck. And then Punk curb stomped him and got a 2 count. And again, the selling and the facials in between. And now Punk is by the open door. And the announcers again say he could walk out. But Seth is screaming, if you want this, take it from me. So Punk rushes him and goes for the GTS again, and Seth slips it and gives Punk a GTS. And then a curb stomp and cover, and they know this is it. 1, 2, kick out. Holy shit, big pop. And then Seth is like, God damn it, he goes to the open door. But he won't leave. He gets up and comes off the second rope with a curb stomp. And boom, and Punk is laid out, and Seth is registering what he's just done, and he's cussing Punk, and all of a sudden you hear the crowd erupting, but they got a close-up on it in the ring, so you don't know, and all of a sudden hands grab Seth, and it's Roman Reigns. He grabs Seth and pulls him backwards out the door and throws him to the ground, and the bell rings. Seth Rollins is the winner. And then he gives Seth the Superman punch and a spear, and the people start chanting OTC at the top of their lungs, the loudest chant yet. And Roman gives Seth the curb stomp on the floor, and he's going to do it on the stairs, but then, because remember, he's getting even for what Seth has done to him in the past. But then Pierce and the officials run out, stop him from giving the stomp on the stairs, and Roman looks up, and Heyman is in the cage helping Punk up and trying to console Punk, and I think maybe he was about to give him mouth to mouth. And Roman sees that, and he gets into the cage and grabs Punk and runs him into the fucking side of the wire, and boom, and the other side, and hits the ropes and spear. And Heyman is mortified in the corner. Oh my God, his hands almost covering the jowls on his face. And we go off the air. Now that was 30 minutes of fucking wrestling television, folks. Out of Brian, am I just too easily pleased these days because nothing is ever any good?
Well, this is good stuff, and this was very good, and it was a great match, and they had the big angle afterwards. I guess I'm not as enthused because I'm not looking for another three-way match. It was the kind of what you started with, talking about this review, and that's what this is all.
Oh yeah, I don't want a three-way, but I loved how I loved the match and the finish and everything.
Do you think they kicked out of too much stuff?
No, because of it's again, there's no rule of thumb, and once again, nobody had a baseball bat. It was every time that they had a logical reason. Either one time, boom, the guy gave the other guy the fucking big move, and he's thinking, should I walk out? No, I don't. I want to fucking stay here. And it made sense and it was logical because blah, blah, blah. Or another time, a guy gives the guy a big move, but he's so worn out that he falls over and he can't capitalize. Or another time, he does give him the big move, and by the time he crawls over there 1-2, and it's barely a kick or whatever, but it didn't slap you in the face, insult your intelligence. It looked like these people were absorbing this shit, and their body language and their level of selling of exhaustion and etc. didn't just wave it under your nose. Oh, this is all bullshit. And when you think about it, you know, a superplex now, you got superplexes where the guy that just got superplexed bounces up and to his feet and picks the other guy up and suplexes him. In this one, a superplex was holy shit and struggling for a cover, and oh my gosh, just barely. These moves are, there's something a human being should be able to endure, one would think, even if they're wrestling finishes. It's not the concerto. If it was real, it wouldn't be automatic brain damage to suffer the go to sleep, right? So I can see this because of the way they told the story. There's no rule of thumb, but some things are just preposterous on the face of it. Neither one of these guys stabbed each other in the head with a screwdriver. Either.
Correct. I didn't like, because it took so long when they stayed with the shot on Rollins, even though clearly the fans were popping like someone was coming out.
Yeah.
It lasted for too long. He took them too long to get to the ring, or they
because it was all the way from the back rather than from the side, like you just talked about, the short entrance.
Yeah, that's the only. That's my biggest criticism.
Tip you. Well, it did tip you that something was about to happen, but at the same point, I think they kind of blocked it out good because he was on the other side of the ring from the announcers. So if the camera wasn't shooting it, they couldn't see him coming down the aisle. So at least they got that part. But that was another exciting episode of Raw in front of 20,000 people in Madison Square Garden. Who would have ever thunk it a few years ago?
Indeed it was, and that was WWE Raw on Netflix. And of course, if you were expecting a 3-hour wrestling extravaganza, like the good old days on the USA Network, you may feel ripped off, you may want to sue.
Well, but if you did, then the opposing counsel would remind you that you're not watching the commercials. If you watch it the next day, you can get rid of all of that, and then it's only 2.5 hours, because the opposing counsel in this case would be the man, the myth, and the legend himself, this man.
Call Stephen P. News. If you need to sue. An outlaw mud show or two. He'll sue the rest.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Stephen P. New at newlawoffice.com, 877-50-STEVE. If you tried to engage in frivolous legal conduct, he would be offended, much like that I'm offended when people engage in frivolous wrestling conduct, and he would take the opposing side to shut you down. But if you have a legitimate case, if you've been wronged or stolen from or harmed in some type of way by a big corporation or some heartless individual or entity, Stephen P. New is the man that represents justice for the underdog. He takes up for the little guy. And even if you're a big fat fuck, you're really small in the overall scheme of things. Imagine what you look like, you 600-pound fat fuck, from a shot from the sky taken from one of these space satellites. You don't look like nothing. So Stephen will take your case too, because you're minute and microscopic. Stephen P. New, newlawoffice.com, 877-50-STEVE if you're a little guy or just an unimportant son of a bitch.
That's right. Stephen P. New, the man for you. Newlawoffice.com, 877-50-STEVE.